Ladies and gentlemen, Kanye West is using your anger as a marketing tool.
Hear about slavery for 400 years? For 400 years? That sounds like a choice.
He's not the only one. We've seen this story before. However, before you choose to sit down and watch this video and you start to go crazy in the comments about how much you hate Kanye, let's do some critical thinking. Especially for those of you that have already been within my audience, you know that I always challenge you to try to see what's the play, what's going on that is bigger than what's happening right here and right now. When the mob starts moving towards something, nobody's thinking. Forget what the mob is saying, forget what the general norm is saying, forget what everybody who even agrees with me is saying. I want to understand what exactly is going on. Why does it emotionally fuel me? Now, recently Kanye West made some very crazy ass comments about how 400 years of slavery were at some point the choice of the people being enslaved. This obviously got people pissed off. And when I heard about it, it was actually through a text message that was sent in all caps by the homie Raleigh. He was like, "Did you hear what he said? Can you believe that he said this?" And even before knowing the actual message, I already expected the absolute worst. I already expected it to be something that was going to bombard my timeline. It was exactly that. He made these comments on TMZ of all places, probably the last place you expect him to even show face at because they talk so badly about him and his family. He shows up there and gives them an interview that money could not buy. And what I'm getting ready to say to you next is something that I understood quite some time ago when Kanye West kept telling us what he wanted to be. He said he wants to be an icon. He doesn't want to just be famous. He's already famous. He wants to be an icon. And when you think about iconic figures through the time, especially the ones, let's just talk about the ones he's mentioned. The Howard Hughes, the Steve Jobs, the Michael Jordans, Walt Disney. These are figures that had to go not just against the norm, they had to do something completely revolutionary for their time period. I often ask myself, if Malcolm X never existed and was born in this day and age, would the work that he did be as impactful as it was back in the 60s? I asked the same question about Martin Luther King. I asked the same questions about a lot of legendary figures, especially political figures who at the time were completely polarizing. Remember that word. That word is going to be very, very important to this particular video. Knowing how to be the complete opposite of what everybody agrees to be the norm. And what they do when they take these polarizing positions, they cement their name forever by taking the abuse of today. Think about a Muhammad Ali who refused to go to the army. Now think about the way that we view him and his legend today. For a man like Kanye that is so obsessed with being iconic, he is doing all the right things to make himself polarizing at any given point in time. When Kanye West came into hip hop, the reason why there weren't rappers that existed like him were because most of the rappers that were out at that time were telling you street tales. They were telling you stories about drug dealing. They were telling you stories about being a gangster. There was not that much variety when it came to that particular time in hip hop, at least not on a mainstream level. On an independent level, it definitely existed. But on a mainstream level, socially accepted by the wide norm, it did not exist like that. So when he came into the game and decided, you know what, I'm going to wear these pink polos, I'm going to have a Louis Vuitton backpack. I'm going to be the complete opposite of what people have known the norm of a backpacker to be. And I'm going to be the complete opposite of what a rapper looks like. He was polarizing to just the norm in hip hop. That wasn't enough. At one point in time, Kanye West said the words, "Y'all niggas wear suits because y'all can't dress no more. You can't say shit to Kanye West no more." Years later, 808s and Heartbreaks, he decided to wear a suit. In an era where people were completely against the idea and the concept of auto-tune from their hip-hop artists, their most respected hip-hop artists, he had an entire album dedicated to auto-tune. Once again, being a polarizing figure. What would be the complete opposite if Kanye had not been a polarizing figure? What if Kanye West would have been the soulful, conscious rapper that we knew him from the beginning? Do you think that he would have the same impact today? Really take a second to think about that. Do you think that we would care as much as we do today had he not gone the route that he went? In 2018, in an era where there's tape recordings of our president talking about grabbing women by the pussy, there exist the same people who are outraged by Starbucks forcing Christmas cups on us. You remember when that happened? When I looked at that and I said, why is this a top story in the news? Why is there controversy? It's a cup. It's a freaking cup. But then when I started to understand that there is big business in your anger, and this does not just go to Kanye West, this goes to the era of rap that we're living in right now. Think about the Tekashis of the world. Think about how he challenges the norms of what we have expected from our gangster rappers. Everything from the rainbow hair to the idea of trolling. Why does a figure like that rise to fame? Because he is immediately polarizing. And whenever there's something that somebody is so passionately against, you better believe there's going to be somebody who is passionately for it as well. Think about the fact that we're living in an era where a young lady Cash Me Outside Girl, Bad Barbie, in an era where she could talk disrespectfully to her mom on camera and then tell an audience member, catch me outside, let's fight. In an era where that kind of behavior gets rewarded with a $5 million record label deal. In an era where people care more about a man jumping over a counter and taking some Winchell's donuts and yelling, boom gang, whole lot of gang shit. In an era where that gets spread more virally than music gets spread, we're witnessing a change in the way that people consume information, the way that they share information, the reasons why they share information. It's ironic that it took this particular Kanye comment to get people so up in arms. Kanye's been doing this for years. I remember when underground rappers were against Kanye because of his Louis Vuitton backpack and his gold chain. I remember when people were rebelling against Kanye West because he chose to make a song called Jesus Walks and put Mace on the remix. I remember when people rebelled against Kanye because he chose to wear Venetian shades and these scarves around his neck. I remember when people rebelled against Kanye when he became larger than life on songs like Power, and when he started to even be more alienating within his music by making songs like I Am a God. And the thing is, I don't think that Kanye's crazy. I think he's crazy enough to do the things he's doing. I think that knowing that a man like this obsesses so much on becoming iconic and wanting to be up in the lights of the Steve Jobs, the Walt Disneys, I think he feels like he has to have such a tremendous impact on his time here. He sounds like a man that died, saw his life and said, you got a chance to live it over again. What would you do differently? And what I mean by that is it seems like he's operating as if none of his actions have any consequences. As if, you know what, I'm gonna die anyways. Or in that case, I'm gonna die again. Might as well do whatever the hell I wanna do, say whatever the hell I wanna say. And then when all's said and done, I will be known as a legend. It doesn't matter what you and I think about him. He's doing all the things that make people legendary and make them iconic. I refuse to get angry anymore. The way that you make an impact in any given time, the way that you start controversy in any given time of music, of culture, of entertainment, you attack the same subjects: religion, race, sex, and politics. This is all touching on your most sensitive subjects. People have done this before. Andy Kaufman did this. Tupac did this. Madonna did this. This is what, at the end of the day, made them iconic. They're not worried about the right now. They're worried about legacy. I'm not here to say if it's right, and I'm not here to say if it's wrong. That's not my place. But I'm hoping that by sharing this information, you're able to look at it from a more critical point of view and look at it and say, what's the play? What's going on here? I don't even think that Kanye West is doing this as a play for just his album. I think his album is just another moment in time. I think that TMZ blow up, having the guy go back at him and have his own moment, that became another moment of Kanye West. It's another chapter in the autobiography of Kanye West. And I was always told that if you look at your life as a book, make sure you write a good one. I think that's a smart man. I think he's a lot smarter than what he lets on. And we fall for this shit every time. I'm not falling for it no more. In a book called The Slight Edge, Jeff Olson once said, a statue has never been set up in honor of a critic. We don't make statues for people who strongly disagree with Kanye. We make statues for people like Kanye. Whether you like it or not, that is what's happening. He is so focused on legacy that by the time he erects what he says he's going to create with those acres and Calabasas, a lot of this stuff people will forget about. Because you know what? Nowadays, people's activism is short term. People get so emotional about something, they get to tweeting about it, they get to Instagramming about it, they go to changing their profiles on Facebook, and then a week later, they're back to the same old, same old. How does an artist continue to be relevant nowadays? Especially an artist that's been here since the early 2000s? Continue to use your anger as a marketing tool. It's up to you whether or not you want this to continue.
Even from what we're doing in fashion, to me being the kid with the pink polos, to me being outspoken, to me being ostracized because of the Taylor Swift thing or the George Bush thing, who I'm dating, who I'm marrying, what I'm talking about. Like, all of this is like an outsider thing.
Once again, this is Curtis King, CurtisKingBeats.com. Have a good one.